Every year, over 250,000 people vanish across Europe. Most are found. Some are not. But a few cases defy logic where witnesses vanish mid-sentence. Cameras record the moment someone disappears, or travelers simply walk into thin air and are never seen again. These are not stories of murder or abduction alone. They are stories of disappearance without reason. Each one has a beginning, but no end. Tonight, on Crimes and Clues, we explore 4 of Europe's most baffling vanishings cases so strange. Investigators still debate whether they belong to this world or another. From the teenager who vanished after a sleepover, to a British child who disappeared while her parents slept, to a student who returned from nowhere with no memory of who he was. These stories will challenge everything you think you know about the word missing. This documentary contains real cases and official investigation details. Some content may be unsettling. Viewer discretion is advised. July 2014. 28-year-old Lars Mittank, a German engineer from Schleswig-Holstein, was on vacation with friends in the Bulgarian resort city of Golden Sands. By every account, Lars was calm, friendly, and laid back, the kind of person who blended easily with everyone. The trip was supposed to be simple. A week by the beach before returning home to Germany. But on the 6th day, everything changed. One night, Lars got into a fight at a local bar, reportedly over a football team rivalry. Witnesses say he was punched in the ear and later diagnosed with a ruptured eardrum at a local clinic. His doctor advised against flying for a few days. Lars told his friends to go ahead without him. He'd catch a later flight once his ear healed. But from that moment, his behavior began to shift. He called his mother from his hotel room, whispering, "They're coming for me." He said people were following him, strangers talking about him, moving in the hallway. His mother, worried, urged him to find somewhere safe. Lars checked out his hotel shortly after. CCTV showed him pacing near the lobby, looking over his shoulder, nervous, clutching his backpack. The next morning, Lars went to Varna Airport, intending to fly home. Inside the terminal, he visited the airport doctor to confirm if it was safe to fly. A security camera caught what happened next. During the examination, witnesses say a construction worker entered the room and Lars suddenly froze. Seconds later, he sprinted out of the office, left his luggage behind, and ran out of the airport barefoot. He was last seen on camera running into a nearby field, past a fence, and into a wooded area. He was never seen again. The investigation that followed revealed no signs of foul play, no blood, no trace of a struggle. His backpack was still at the airport, containing his passport, phone, and wallet. Police searched field, warehouses, and nearby villages. Dogs lost the scent less than a kilometer from the airport. Some theories suggest paranoia from antibiotics or head trauma caused psychosis. Others believe Lars was being hunted, possibly by the same men from the bar. His mother, Sandra Mittank, continues the search to this day. She says she can't watch the airport footage anymore, because each time she does, she still hopes he'll run back into frame. To this day, Lars Mittank remains one of Europe's most famous missing persons. His disappearance, caught entirely on camera, has been viewed over 30 million times online. But views don't bring closure. Somewhere in the silence between those frames lies the truth about what really happened and why he ran. May 3rd, 2007. The small resort town of Praia da Luz, on Portugal's southern coast, was calm and beautiful, a peaceful retreat for families from across Europe. Among them were Kate and Jerry McCann, doctors from the United Kingdom, vacationing with their 3 young children, including their eldest daughter, Madeleine, who had just turned 3. They stayed in apartment 5A, while dining with friends at a nearby tapas restaurant, just 50 meters away. They took turns checking on their children every 20 minutes. It was a routine, until it wasn't. At around 10 p.m., Kate McCann returned to the apartment to check on the children. The door was slightly open. The bedroom window opened wider than before, and Madeleine's bed was empty. Panic spread instantly. Friends and staff searched the resort, shouting her name. Within an hour, police were called. By sunrise, the entire town of Praia da Luz had become a search zone, but there were no footprints, no signs of a break-in, and no trace of the little girl. Over the following months, Madeleine's disappearance became one of the largest missing persons investigations in European history. Hundreds of tips poured in from across the continent. Police interviewed staff, tourists, and locals, but the story kept changing. Witnesses claimed to have seen a man carrying a child near the resort that night. Others said they saw a car leaving in a hurry. But every lead ended in contradiction. At one point, Portuguese police even suspected the McCanns themselves, a claim that was later dropped for lack of evidence. As the years passed, the case became a global obsession. Documentaries, newspaper front pages, and false leads. Madeleine's face was seen in airports, posters, and even on digital billboards. Yet, despite millions in funding and international cooperation, not a single confirmed sighting was ever verified. Then, in 2020, a German suspect was identified, Christian Bruckner, a convicted sex offender who lived near Praia da Luz in 2007. But to this day, no physical evidence has been found. 18 years later, the question remains the same. What happened to Madeleine McCann? A child vanished from her bed in one of the safest towns in Europe. And no one, not even the world's best investigators, has been able to explain how. Monday, February 18th, 2019. It was an ordinary school day in Berlin, Germany. Cold, quiet, unremarkable. But inside a small home on Moorweg Street, something extraordinary and terrifying was about to unfold. Her name was Rebecca Reusch, a 15-year-old student known for her humor, her love of baking, and her obsession with the latest pop hits from BTS. That weekend, Rebecca had stayed over at her older sister Jessica's house. Jessica's husband, Florian, was also home. The family had dinner together, watched TV, and talked about plans for the week ahead. Nothing unusual. Rebecca went to sleep on the living room couch that night. When the sun rose, she was gone. No one saw her leave. No one heard the door open. And within hours, her disappearance would ignite one of Germany's most haunting mysteries of the decade. At first, there was no panic. When Jessica woke up around 7 a.m., Rebecca's blanket was folded neatly on the couch. Her shoes and jacket were missing. Everyone assumed she had gone to school early. But hours later, when her teachers called to report she never arrived, confusion turned to fear. Her phone, the one she never went anywhere without, had been switched off around 8 a.m. That's when police were called. Detectives combed through the house. No signs of forced entry. No signs of a struggle. Everything seemed too normal. Then investigators noticed something curious. Jessica's husband, Florian, had already left the house before 8 a.m. He claimed he was driving to visit a friend in Brandenburg, about 50 kilometers south of Berlin. But when police spoke to that friend, they said the meeting never happened. In that single contradiction, the story of a missing teenager turned into something far more complex. Over the next few days, the Berlin police launched a massive search. Helicopters circled forested areas. Dogs tracked scents through farmland and frozen fields. Hundreds of officers combed the Kleiner Muggelsee area, a wooded region along Florian's supposed route. They found nothing. What they did find, however, were two key clues. One, cell tower data confirming that Florian's phone had pinged in two separate locations within Brandenburg that morning. Two, that his car's trunk had been cleaned in the days after Rebecca vanished. Detectives questioned Florian repeatedly. He maintained his innocence. Calm, consistent, emotionless. But inconsistencies piled up. He couldn't recall what he wore that morning. He couldn't produce messages from a friend he supposedly met. And police dogs, trained to detect decomposition, reacted strongly near the rear of his car. Florian was arrested twice. First on suspicion of homicide, then again after new evidence surfaced. Both times he was released. There wasn't enough to charge him. Public opinion split in two. Some blamed Florian, convinced of foul play. Others insisted Rebecca had simply run away. A teenager overwhelmed by life, seeking escape. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. And still no sign of Rebecca. Over 2,000 tips came in from across Germany and neighboring countries. Reported sightings at train stations, rest stops, shopping centers. None were confirmed. One tip claimed she'd been seen boarding a bus near the Polish border. Another said she was working at a bakery under a fake name. Investigators followed every lead. Each one led to another dead end. Her family, desperate for answers, appeared on national television. They begged for information. Rebecca's mother, Bridget, broke down during one broadcast whispering, "Rebecca, if you're alive, please come home. You are not in trouble." But as months passed, even the media's interest began to fade. Her Instagram account froze in time her last post, a mirror selfie with the caption, "Weekend mood." It remains untouched to this day. And in the silence that followed, the mystery only deepened. Was this the work of someone close to her? Or did Rebecca simply walk away from her life and vanish into the city that never noticed she was gone? To this day, Rebecca Reusch has not been found. Police have never discovered a single item belonging to her. Her mother refuses to believe she's dead. No one can vanish like that, she says, not without a trace. Yet, in that empty space between doubt and truth, Rebecca's story continues to haunt a nation. A case with no crime scene. A suspect without charges. A girl who vanished in one of Europe's safest cities, leaving behind a trail of silence so complete it feels almost deliberate. In Germany, February still feels colder for one reason. Because somewhere out there, a question still lingers in the fog. Where's Rebecca? The Great Lakes are known for beauty and for secrets. For decades, pilots have vanished, ships have sunk, and hikers have simply walked into the white horizon never to return. In February 1978, a college student named Stephen Kubacki became one of them. He was 23, a linguistics major at Hope College in Michigan, fluent in multiple languages, athletic, intelligent, cautious. On February 20th, Stephen packed his ski gear and told friends he was heading out on a solo trip near Lake Michigan, close to the city of Saugatuck. He never came back. When he missed classes the following week, friends called local authorities. The search began immediately, and what they found left investigators frozen in disbelief. Stephen's cross-country skis were discovered lying in perfect alignment at the edge of the lake. His backpack and poles rested neatly beside them. From there, rescuers found a set of footprints, clear, deep, and distinct, leading out onto a frozen lake. They stretched nearly a mile across the ice. Then, they stopped. The prints didn't turn back. They didn't veer sideways. They simply ended as if the man walking had evaporated mid-step. There were no cracks in the ice, no open water, no sign of struggle. His skis and pack were still where he left them, as though he planned to return within minutes. Search teams scoured the lake for days. Helicopters flew low over the ice. Divers drilled through and descended into the black water below. Nothing, not a single trace. Investigators reluctantly concluded that Stephen had fallen through thin ice, but the physics didn't fit. Temperatures had been far below freezing for weeks. The ice was over a foot thick. And yet, Stephen was gone. Vanished with no evidence. No body, no witness. His family held a memorial. His friends grieved. The case was quietly marked closed. Stephen Kubacki was declared dead. But 15 months later, the impossible happened. May 5th, 1979. In a small town near Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, over 700 miles away, a man stumbled into a farmer's field, confused and exhausted. His hair was longer, his face thinner. He carried a small backpack and wore mismatched clothes. Not his own. Inside were strange items. A map of California, a t-shirt from a Wisconsin marathon he'd never run, and roughly $40 in cash. When questioned, he said his name was Stephen Kubacki. The man presumed dead was alive. Stephen said he had no memory of where he'd been. "I remember feeling cold," he told investigators. "Then I woke up in a field. No recollection of the missing 15 months. No idea how he crossed states." His medical exam revealed no injuries, no signs of trauma, and nothing to explain what had happened. Authorities were stunned. Psychiatrists suggested dissociative fugue, a condition where a person forgets who they are and begins a new life elsewhere. But the theory couldn't explain his travel pattern, the new clothes, or why he stopped near Pittsburgh, only to wake up. Even the FBI was briefed on his case. Yet after a few interviews, Stephen refused to talk further. He wanted the story buried. In the years that followed, rumors grew louder than the facts. Some called it the Lake Michigan Triangle Effect, a region known for missing ships, vanishing planes, and bizarre compasses that spin wildly without reason. Others believe Stephen's case was psychological, a mind fractured by stress or trauma. But there were those who whispered something else, that Stephen had glimpsed something out there on the ice, something no one was ever meant to see. Years later, Stephen resurfaced quietly under a new identity. He earned a degree in theology, later wrote a dense academic book about metaphysics and the nature of consciousness. He never granted another interview. When journalists tracked him down decades later, his response was chilling in its simplicity. "I don't want to talk about it. The person you're looking for doesn't exist anymore." In a way, maybe he was right. The official report lists Stephen Kubacki as a man who simply lost his memory. But no investigation has ever explained how he survived a Michigan winter, crossed multiple states on foot, or lived an entire year without leaving a single trace. He didn't fall through the ice. He didn't die. He just stepped off the edge of logic and came back changed in a world full of evidence. Stephen's story reminds us that some mysteries don't need monsters. They just need silence. They vanish not into space, not into legend, but into our world. Familiar places, ordinary days, people who laughed, worked, and planned for tomorrow until tomorrow never came. Lars Mittank, a German engineer from Schleswig-Holstein, was on vacation with friends in the Bulgarian when he disappeared without a trace. Madeleine McCann, a little girl who disappeared while her parents were just 50 meters away. Rebecca Reusch, a teenager who vanished from a quiet Berlin home in daylight. And Stephen Kubacki, a man who stepped into the snow, disappeared for 15 months, and came back with no memory of where he deep been. For stories, for lives, for questions that echo across decades. Where did they go? Why can't we find them? And why do so many disappear without a single TR? Ace, somewhere between fact and fear, there's a place where the trail ends and silence begins. That's where crimes and clues searches. In the space between what we know and what we're afraid to belie. Every missing person was once someone's heartbeat, someone's child, someone's friend. Behind every headline is a kitchen chair left empty, a phone that will never ring again. And even when the world forgets, families never do. The truth is out there, maybe buried in an old police file, maybe living in the memory of someone who saw something once and stayed silent. Maybe in the next episode, we'll find a clue that everyone else missed. If you believe these stories deserve to be told, don't just watch. Hit subscribe, turn on notifications, and drop a comment with the word truth to remind the world that silence doesn't erase justice. This is Crimes and Clues, and until the truth surfaces, we'll keep digging.